Welcome back. And if you joined us late today, my very special guest is Angela Keys, and she is here on behalf of Switch. And I don't know about you, but this is very upsetting to me, to realize that this, to me, is an ultimate evil. And it's going on around us right here where we live. And most of us, we go to church, we live our lives, go to work, try to do the right thing. I really believe most people try to do what is right.
I agree.
And that we have this kind of thing in our midst, and we're unaware of it.
Right.
It's shocking.
It's mind-boggling. It is. I agree with you. I really just learned all about this about just a few years ago. And at first, I had the exact same reaction that you have. And I was shocked, and I didn't like hearing the stories, and I didn't want to know about it. But turning our head away from a problem doesn't make the problem go away.
Okay, you're the expert now.
Okay.
You're sitting here.
I'm sitting here.
Tell us what we as citizens, what we as caregivers, as parents, as grandparents, what can we do to help?
All right, I'll start with the easiest thing, okay? The easiest thing is to learn more about it. And I would suggest you go to our website, and that's switchsc.org. We have some resources there.
Switchsc.org. Okay.
That's right. So we have some resources there that people can learn a little bit more about what it looks like. Another great thing that people could do is like us on Facebook, Switch, here in Greenville. Like us on Instagram, if they're on that, because that way now they'll see some of our updates. We post links to articles anytime there's a sex trafficking ring that's been busted. And you'll be able to see law enforcement. You'll see everything about it. We post other articles of interesting information. We share things by Shared Hope International, which is a fantastic organization here in our country that's really fighting against human trafficking on the political level. And they're making great strides with the government. So things like that. The way to stay informed is to get connected with Switch over the internet. Another great way would be buy tickets to attend our gala in November.
Which is November 17th, I believe.
And it will be beautiful, and it's held at First Pres, downtown Greenville.
Right.
And it's going to be a fantastic night, a really beautiful event. You can get dressed up if you want to, and you can come learn more about it. So that's a helpful way. We need to sell tickets. We need to make money. So here's another thing that people could do, though. They could go ahead and be very careful about what their kids and their grandkids are doing online. So almost every kid today has some kind of a device, right? Yeah. They have a cell phone, an iPod, an iPad, a computer. And the #1 way that traffickers are recruiting young, vulnerable kids is through social media. So that means Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, any of the games that have chatting capabilities, any of those locations. And if parents and grandparents, whoever's in charge, is not aware of what the kids are doing and who they're talking to, there's a very good chance that the child has established a relationship online. So for example, we just recently posted an article about this about 2 months ago, and this did not happen here in South Carolina, but it can, and it probably has. This was a young girl who was only maybe 9 years old. She began chatting with someone that she thought was maybe like a 14-year-old boy. Eventually, she thought he was her best friend. She'd never met him, okay, only through chatting over her phone. And eventually, he managed to get her to meet him somewhere and convinced her that he was in love with her. But he was a 35-year-old man, not a 14-year-old. And she continued to live at home with her dad, who was a good, loving father. But she had been completely trapped because of online interaction with this man. And she wanted to do whatever he wanted her to do. And he had talked her into doing things over just the phone, like hold up her phone and videotape herself, perhaps undressing or taking a shower, something like that. She didn't realize it was all that bad. She didn't know because she was young and impressionable. So he was basically turning her videos into child pornography. And she didn't even know it. So that is just one example of what can happen online through social media. And that's the biggest place where parents can really be careful.
Parents need to be aware.
Right. In my house with my kids, my rule is you do not talk to anybody you don't know for sure. You haven't met them at school. You haven't met them at church. If you're not sure who that person is, you're not allowed to talk to them back and forth. You are not allowed. Because if you begin, a kid is going to believe that the person on the other end is who they say they are.
Well, of course.
And oftentimes they're not. This is where pedophiles are. They are stalking Instagram and Snapchat, and they are looking for vulnerable young people. And oftentimes they're probably going to be more likely to snag someone who doesn't have a lot of parental supervision.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, but not always. So I don't want anyone to think, well, I'm a good parent, we come from a good Christian home, we go to church every Sunday. That does not block you from having the possibility of this happening to your child.
So the vigilance by parents and caregivers
Yes.
is more important than ever.
Very important, but also talking to the kids, because recruiting can happen out in public. It's not just on social media. It can happen at the Haywood Mall. It can happen at a park. It can happen at a fun party. It can happen at a high school football game. It happens on college campuses. So recruiters or pimps or traffickers, they are out there and they are looking to make connections with people. And then a lot of times they'll establish it now through social media. They'll keep up with them through that. You just can't trust people in this day and age. And our kids aren't aware of that.
No, they're inexperienced.
Yes, yes. And they're used to just believing whatever they read on their iPad. They just assume it's right. And so they assume that this person who seems to be very nice to me must be a nice person. So we've got to talk to our kids about how you just cannot trust everybody and you've got to be careful. We need to teach our kids a healthy sense of fear, of instinct, of recognizing this is a dangerous situation. I don't think that this person is telling me the truth. We need our kids to know that. You know what we've made the mistake of doing? I did this with my own kids when they were little. I would force them to go hug Aunt Sally. Or I would force them to be polite to the stranger. And I would say, go talk to him, go say hi. And you know what? It's not really good. We've desensitized our kids from their own instincts because now they assume they have to be polite to everyone. And they assume if someone says, give me a hug, you have to say, okay, I'll give you a hug. And they assume, well, since the stranger is being polite to me, I have to be polite back. So they now do not pay attention to the little hairs on the back of your neck that stand up when it says, something's wrong here, get away from this person. We've taught our kids not to listen to that. So we need to go back now and teach them to pay attention to their own instinct, which is also Holy Spirit inside of you, but it can also be just your gut instinct that says something here is not right. So that's another thing we can do to help protect our kids.
So as parents, perhaps the age we live in now, we have so much, but the other end of that is that there's a lot of evil out there.
There is. Technology is being
past
used.
Didn't even have.
Right. You're exactly right. So this has always existed. This problem has always gone on, but it looks different now because of technology. You're right.
Yeah.
So it used to be women were standing on the street corners. That was the typical picture of what a prostitute might do. She'd be on the corner,
Yeah.
right? That's not really happening anymore. It's not necessary because now the dates are being made on her phone. Not always by her. Typically, it's made by her trafficker, who makes a date to meet at a certain motel at a certain time at a certain day. And then if she can't get there herself, the trafficker will take her physically, drop her off. She'll go do what she has to do, and then she'll come back. So now we're not seeing people on the street corners anymore because everyone's using technology to set up their dates.
All right, so parents, more than ever,
Yes.
need to be vigilant.
Very much so. We've got to pay attention to what our kids are doing and who they're talking to. We have to pay attention. And it's hard for parents to do. We get busy. We live in a busy world. I've got my own phone, my own emails, my own things to check. Like, it's hard to keep up with everything, but we've got to do it.
And many mothers are working.
Yes,
and
exactly.
so that makes it even harder.
It does. It does. So I think another thing is just keep an open line of communication between you and your child or your children, and talk to them about things and make sure they understand that they can come to you and talk to you about anything. You want your kid to come to you and say, Mom, I had this really weird thing happen and I didn't feel good about it and I'm just not sure. You want them to come and talk to you about that, right? You don't want them to keep it a secret. You don't want them to have a weird experience at the mall but then be too scared to tell you. So that's another thing that parents can do. Keep those lines of communication open.
Now, what are any of the churches coming forward to take a stand and open the door so people can go to church and not just worship, but know what's out there?
We would love to have more churches partner with us. That would be fantastic. So yes, we have gotten our foot in the door with some, and we need more because yes, if we can get into more churches and come in and do a whole awareness presentation, we can show statistics and pictures and we can help people understand, yes. So that's a great way. If anyone's involved in their church and they are willing to help us and to reach out, go to our website, switchsc.org, and there is a button they can click on that says invite us to come speak at your church or your event.
And I also have a phone number, and I will keep this information here. If you didn't get it, I'll be glad to share it with you. Now, November the 17th
Yes.
is a gala. Now,
Yes.
tell us quickly what that is.
All right, it's called the Freedom Gala, so it's a fundraiser.
Freedom
Gala is the name of it.
All right.
And it's going to be held at First Pres, downtown Greenville, November 17th. It's a semi-formal to formal affair. You can come in church attire if you'd like, or you can dress up and be real fancy if you'd like to. We'll have a sit-down dinner. We will have a speaker who is a widely known, nationally recognized, best-selling speaker, and she was trafficked for 6 years. She's come out of that life. She's a believer. She's been set free. She loves Jesus, and she has a powerful testimony. So she has a great story. I've met her. She's wonderful, fantastic person. So if anybody wants to hear a personal story, this would be a great thing to attend.
Okay, so that's November 17th. And at downtown Greenville on Washington Street, First Presbyterian Church is hosting it.
Yes, they are.
And
yes.
Anyone is welcome.
Anyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome. Yes. Buy tickets, come and attend, possibly bid on something at the silent auction if you'd like to. Invite your friends. You can sponsor a table. Businesses are sponsoring tables, and then they get to promote their, their business in our program and everything. So we've got a lot of sponsors that way.
Okay.
So that's a fantastic way of helping.
But this is, I think, something that God has given us in this age we live in. If we are trying to live the right way, then we need to reach out and help, especially innocent young people.
Absolutely, yes. Yes,
Okay.
You're exactly right. It's very important. God tells us to defend those who are weak.
Okay.
And these are some very weak, vulnerable people, and that's what we're trying to do.
You're wonderful.
Oh,
God
thank
bless
you.
you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Angela Keys, volunteer for Switch. We all need to take our part. We'll stay better and help our kids. That's the main thing. Stay happy. We'll see you next time.